Hi guys, I'm going to show you how to use a net sheet calculation on a specific transaction. Someone has requested me to do one for them, and I'm just going to show you how to do this one and customize it to this specific terms. So the terms of the contract right now is 222,500 is the sales price. The loan is 96.5% FHA. So essentially the loan is going to be $214,712.50. The seller is giving a credit to the buyer of $6,000. There's 6% commission, $195 broker fee. They are going to be making the tax payment for the current year. The seller is at $1,200, and then the buyer is giving a seller a credit back of $550 for the non-ad valorem assessments. So these are the terms that I'm going to be using in order to create a net sheet calculation. So I'm going to take you there really quickly. We're going to go to my website. I'm going to be doing a video later on how to create your own login for this, but right now I'm just going to use it as a guest. So resources here, Instant Net Sheet Calculator, you can reach it from here or here. So I'm just going to click here. Instant Net Sheet Calculator is going to ask my name and my email, which I'm going to add here. The realty office, the real estate office is not necessary. If you want to put it in, you can, but it's not necessary. And then you're going to submit. And then it's going to take you to the actual calculation. So if you create an account, which you'd go through the steps through here, we're not going to do that right now. If you create an account, you can save your estimates. Right now, I'm just simply showing you how to use this as a guess. So we're going to enter the zip code. The zip code for this property, I'm just going to say it's in Lehigh. I'm going to make it up. 33936. It's in Lehigh Acres. Now, if you put in a property address, sometimes it'll populate the actual house on here. If you actually put in the property address, sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But that doesn't really change your net sheet calculation. So it's going to ask you what your needs are. What are the requirements? So is this a purchase with a buyer getting a loan, a purchase with a buyer paying with cash, a seller quote, which is normally what we get asked to do, because an agent's asking, it's being asked to provide what the net calculation is going to be, or like the net proceeds for the seller is going to be. So the agent wants to know that ahead of time. So the seller quote will give you both the seller and the buyer fees. If you go with these, the purchase, buyer getting a loan, and buyer paying with cash, you're only going to get the fees for the buyer when you print it out. Although you'll see it in your calculation, you'll see it on the computer. When you actually print it out, you're only going to get the buyer's side. So we're doing a seller quote here, which will have both sides. Buyers getting a loan, buyers using cash, a refinance, or a home equity. All of these incur different fees. That's why they're all different selections. We're going to go with a seller quote because it's a seller who wants to know how much they're going to net after the sale at that specific price, and the buyer is getting a loan. So we're going to click on that. Now it's going to ask me for the sales price. The sales price is $222,500. And the loan amount, like I mentioned earlier, remember with the terms we talked about, was $214,712.50. Sorry. Actually, it'll just even it out. So we're going to do 13. $214,713. This could either be single family, condo. The reason why these are added here is because of endorsements. But if you don't know, even if it's just a lot, a single family would work. And this says, well, is this going to be a secondary residence, primary residence, someone else, or I don't know. Normally, I would just say I don't know. It doesn't really affect it. So right now, it's going to say, well, what county is this in? Apparently, that zip code has multiple counties, either Hendry County or Lee County. I know that line's really tight in there, that 33936 zip code that I use. So we're going to say Lee County because this is in Lehigh. Is this mortgage a federal or a state chartered credit union? So this would be something like Suncoast Credit Union, or Teachers Credit Union, things like that. I'm going to say no. It is an FHA loan, but I'm going to say no because it's not through a credit union. The reason why this is asked is because your intangible taxes sometimes are not paid if you go through the credit union when the mortgage is actually recorded with the clerk of courts. So we're going to do search. And basically, it's going to give you two options. And they're both us. They're going to be exactly the same. The reason why you get two is because we do service the entire state of Florida. And in order to be able to populate these, there's got to be a virtual service. And then there's the one where the closing would take place here. They're both the same, but that's why those come out separate like that. You can click on either one. So I will click here on fee detail and order. And now you got all these fees here. You've got seller fees and then buyer fees. What I like to do is I like to do show all fee detail. That actually gives you the breakdown, because if you hide it, what it's giving you, it's a summary of those selections, of those like sections. So right now you have the buyer paying a courier fee of $60. That's for the FedEx fees that are incurred for the 2 FedEx packages that get sent out to the lender with the loan package. And then you have the environmental protection endorsement, a planned unit development endorsement. Actually, that one is not going to pertain here because this is not in a planned unit development, but that's there just for reference. And then you have your Florida Form 9 that will require you to have a survey. That's the endorsements for the lender. And then you got the e-recording fee to the county of $4.50, file sharing fee of $10. Now that $10 is on both sides, the buyer and the seller get that. And then we talk about title insurance. So the lender's title insurance is always paid by the buyer, the lender. The owner's title insurance in this situation is going to be paid by the seller, but that can be changed. I'm about to show you how to do that. But right now the lender's policy is $125. Now you've got the owner's title insurance policy, which is seller's paying, of $1,187.50. You have a loan closing fee of $600 here, and then you have the closing fee for the seller here of $350. Then we have a survey estimate of $300. Sometimes that's a little more. Sometimes it depends if you need an elevation certificate. Again, this is for the buyer and the loan. If this were a cash, these fees, none of these fees would be here. Title search fee would go to the seller because the seller is paying for the title insurance. So in total, these fees here for the buyer is $1,330.75, and for the seller is $1,672.50. That's for the title charges and escrow and settlement charges. And then you go down to your government and recording charges. You have documentary stamp tax on the deed for the seller of $1,557.50. And then you got intangible and documentary stamp taxes on the mortgage that the buyer is going to pay when they record the mortgage with the clerk of courts. That's payable to the state of Florida, and that's just the mortgage tax. Here's a recording fee per page for the clerk of courts for the deed. That's a buyer fee as well. And then the recording fee per page for the mortgage, a buyer fee as well. There's nothing else here. So basically in government recording and transfer fees, the buyer has $1,430.73, and then the seller has $1,557.50. Okay, so if you were to hide this, you will just see those. Now, what we wanted to do was we wanted to add additional things. So when you want to add additional stuff, you go to add fees. Okay, and then we are going to say, let's see, we talked about this having a $6,000 credit to the buyer. So we're going to go credits to buyer to seller, okay, and credits seller to buyer. So right now, if the buyer is given a credit, we're going to go $6,000. The buyer is going to get, not 60, $6,000. The buyer is going to get that credit there, okay? Now, the actual seller is going to be paying that credit, all right? So we are going to essentially add a charge. So we're going to call it a credit to buyer from seller. The amount is going to be $6,000. The split is going to be 100% to the um, to the seller. So you'll just click on here to let you change that. You can go up and down here and that will even it out. Okay, but the seller is giving that to the buyer. So we're going to continue that. So that you see there, there's that fee there, that $6,000 there. Okay, which will go here where it says credit seller to buyer. You see it? Okay. Now we also talked about a 6% commission. So you got your real estate commission here. You're going to put 6%. You can delete this, do 6%, tab this, say okay, and there you go. You have the $13,350 of real estate commission. There's also, we talked about a broker fee. We're going to go to add other charges, and we're going to call it a broker fee of $195, and it is payable by the seller on this transaction. That could be payable by whomever you're representing. And then they also wanted to know the taxes. Now this system does not calculate taxes for you. You have to kind of do that yourself and figure it out. That's because I can't give you an estimate with taxes in it because every property is different. In this one, I pre-researched this, so I'm going to add the taxes on here, and I'm going to say, let's say 2020 taxes. It's going to be paid by seller of $1,200, which is what we have here. So we're going to continue. That gets added there, and then we're going to get a credit to the we're going to give a credit to the seller of $550. Okay, so now we have here credit to buyer from seller, and then we have one that says credit seller to buyer. That's where that one is. Actually, this one we're going to remove it. So you got your 6,000. Let's see, where are we? 6,000 and 6,000 here. So now we're going to say credits buyer to seller. So credits buyer to seller is going to be $550 for the non-ad valorem assessments. So there is if you see here, you've got an actual debit to the buyer, credit to the seller. Okay, so earlier when I did the other charge, you actually don't have to do that. If you're going to give a credit to the seller, you're going to put it here. If you're going to give it a buyer, and then if you're going to give one to the seller, you put it here. Okay, in these, and it automatically will show you as a credit and a debit automatically. So these are the terms on this one. That was if you do this for a living, that probably wasn't as hard as it sounds. But right now, without accounting for the payoff of a mortgage, the seller is going to net $193,075. Okay, and we don't know what the lender fees are going to be, which is why the buyer's fee right now looks negative, because they gave that $6,000 credit and it's offsetting their charges. But once all of these get added in, which if you have them, you can put them in, but we don't know what those are. These are all appraisal fees, and the reason why these lender fees are here is because a lot of the lenders use this net sheet calculator all the time, so they are the ones that actually put that in there when they're doing their own calculations of fees. Okay, and then that's it. If you had an account, you would hit save and it would save it into your account, but since we're doing it as a guest, you can either download it as a closing disclosure, download it as a fee estimate, email the closing disclosure, or email the fee estimate. So I'm going to say I'm going to download the closing disclosure. What's going to happen is you're going to get, it should populate into your system however you have it set up. If you see mine, here it is. So you've got a closing disclosure that has both sides. Most of the time people don't really like to look at that, but I can save this into my system and send it out. We could download the fee estimate. I like the fee estimate a little better, but we'll see. Wait for that to pop up, and then we'll look at it. And this is what the fee estimate looks like. Okay, so this has all your seller fees on it. The CD has seller and buyer fees on it. Okay. This is actually the one that I'm gonna save, just because that's where that's that's where I'm gonna send this out to the agent right now. I'm just gonna call it estimate. Okay. And then you could email this. You could email either one of those if you wanted to. I can email this to myself, email document, and it'll download. So you can email it to yourself, and then from your email, you can then email it to whoever else you want to. But that pretty much, in a nutshell, is what you need to do. I could do send receive on here and get that calculation maybe. Yeah, not yet. It's not in yet. It takes a few minutes for it to populate, but you usually get it in an email. And that is it. Thank you.